Hey guys, Miss Jagger here, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Woo! And welcome to patch 9.15 test server. Huzzah! Now, a few things before we get started. First of all, I unfortunately have caught what seems to be an early stage of a cold. I've got my Lemsip on my side, so I should fingers crossed be okay. And my voice is kind of going in and out of croakiness, so apologies if my voice goes slightly croaky during these recordings. Yes, we are in, and obviously, also, this is the first part of a two-part series. If you're new to this, basically what I do is I have 2 episodes of these servers. The first episode is where I talk about the new features or some of the new things that are going to be coming into World of Tanks, potentially in a patch. And I ask, for your opinions on the matter in the comments section, and I, give my opinions on my first impressions of the server. Now, obviously, for those of you out there who are desperate for guns, blood, guts, and gore, you might not find this episode to be to your satisfaction, which is why the second episode is all going to be all about blood, guts, and gore. We're going to be using the new vehicles, potentially, or we're going to be seeing the new physics, or the new thingy, or the Thune Bobby. Loads of sort of high-octane action. So if you're into that sort of stuff, go down to the description. There should be a lovely little link, or if you're patient, now, there is a hyperlink right in front of you which you can click and it will take you straight to the next video and you can enjoy that to your heart's content. Finally, before we get this first half started, everything you see in this patch is considered not quite, guaranteed. A lot of features in certain patches might not even make it to the shop floor because certain things may be withdrawn for fixing, certain things may need patching, balancing, all sorts of things. So take what you see here with a pinch of salt and assume that, yes, there might be a chance it could come in, but there is also a chance it could not come in. So anyway, for all you blood, guts, and gores out there, hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next video. So, thank you very much to all those who have stayed. I shall try and make this as informative and entertaining as possible. So, what is new in patch 9.15? Well, it's kind of one of those fix-it patches. A lot of things have been changed in the background. There are also a couple of obvious changes, which we'll be referring to a few of them, but this one's more of a fix-it, patch-it, nerf-it, buff-it sort of patch. Obviously, there is a big controversial thing, or godsend thing, depending on what side of the fence you're on that, and there's a couple of things which, obviously, one of them is blatantly staring you in the face. So, let's get on to that, shall we? So, undoubtedly you'll have noticed the UI has changed in the garage. Yes, now, instead of having a list of stats like we previously do, or currently have in World of Tanks at the moment, we've now been given a sort of bar system. Now, don't worry, this hasn't removed the details. In order to see the details, you need only click on this bar thing, and those details of your specific desire are now available for you to see. Which is, it's kind of cool, I guess. I mean, you get the armor, you get the firepower, mobility. What is new is the concealment. So, if you are desperate to know how stealth a Tog, for example, would be, my camo rating is not very good for that. But if I wanted to know what, for example, a Lef 105 is, I'm no better than a Tog. I'm slightly worse than a Tog, ironically. But if I wanted to know, for example, an ELC's camo rating, you can see I'm fairly good on that, the mobility and all that jazz. Another cool feature about this is that this, bar system is, it can be affected by what kind of crew skills you've got and what kind of equipment you've got. So, for example, look at the firepower rating of 587 when I take off my rammer. If it would actually take off my rammer, you'll see that I've gone way back down to 528 because I've removed my rammer, which means my rate of fire has gone down and my reload time has gone up. So if I put my gun rammer back on, it's currently 528, 11.2 rounds a minute with a 5.3 second reload time. Boom, my rate of fire goes up to 12.5. My reload time goes down to 4.8, and my firepower rating goes up to 587. And this is, I will say, kind of a nice, nifty little feature. You also get to see your current view range, unlike the previous system where my mod pack gives me a base and actual. Which, I mean, talking about these sort of things and sort of horsepower and all that, it's nice, personally speaking, and this is more of a nitpick than an actual criticism. I currently do quite like my system, or at least the system I've grown accustomed to. Obviously, I will get used to this system, and I'm fairly certain it's not actually going to be a big problem. But I kind of like the sort of, if you will, the list system on the right. That's my own personal opinion on the matter. Feel free to share your own opinions in the comment section. But personally, I liked having all of the list down ready to go for me to look at instantly. I mean, I'm not saying I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to do that, but if I wanted to see the entire list of what I got, it's kind of like, okay, so I can only see 3 of the things that I want at the first thing, and then I need to go down to sort that out. I mean, you know, it's a nice system. I'm gonna use it. Well, I have to use it, but you know, personally speaking, the other system for me was perfectly adequate. You know, I had all of the information I needed to know from that system, albeit it had mods. So if I was playing from just a pure vanilla perspective, this probably would do me a big favor. Another sort of thing that this game has done, which I will say this system is kind of similar to World of Warships. Another system that this system has done is it allows you now to preview a tank that you want. So say for example, I really want to get myself an FE405, but previously all I had to go on, like what made me think, oh, what I want about this tank if I wanted to learn about it, was going to the vehicle details. Admittedly, that is way too much vehicle details, but still, you know, it would only give me a little sort of option there. Can I just shrink this down? No, I can't. So that's way more details, but I guess that's how the game works now. But, you know, I wouldn't be given much details in 9.14. Whereas now, I can click on the preview button, and it gives me a much better visual representation. Another cool thing is, if, for example, I'm not going for a pure tier 10, let me just choose a faction at random. Tell you what, I'll go with, you know, for argument's sake, let's go with the T49. So, you know, the T49 I can see now, and what's cool is I can actually mount the turret of the T49. Like, I don't need to research or anything, so I can basically see what this tank looks like when I first get it. I can upgrade it, and the stats will change, obviously, given what goes on. I can then put that up there, so it will show me what's there. I can put the better engine on, which means now I've got a better engine. Obviously, the turret change as well, so my concealment factor goes up. Then, obviously, another thing is that it's very visual as well. So, for example, if I go into the T49, it will tell me visually a lot what I'm going to do, and it's just one of those sort of, you know, assistance things. So I'll actually lose a lot of firepower if I choose this thing, very drastically reduced if I choose the 152 derp, whereas if I choose the 90mm gun, I actually have a much better chance of giving you more DPS. As it says there, my DPS is 3,179 with the 152. It's down to 2,476. My gun depression angles as well, I think, are affected. No, it's not. Just the gun. So, you know, there's loads of awesome things about this new UI system, which, all in all, I will say are useful. I mean, being able to preview tanks is a big thumbs up from me. I love that. I really do. I think it's a fantastic system. But my only complaint, and that's my own personal petty complaint, is that I kind of like the old system as is. But I'm more than willing to jump into this new system if it seems to be working. You know, as I said, it works. It's not going to fail me, so why not? Okay, so on to the big subject, because it is kind of the biggest subject of the entire video, if you will. Now, depending on what side of the fence you're on, the particular vehicle that we're going to be talking about may or may not be a happy thing for you. On one side of the fence, you may feel angry, annoyed, pissed off at wargaming, and, you know, you feel like you're just being kicked because you're having fun. But maybe on the other side of the fence, you're calling this a godsend, a final retribution for all those games that you've had to witness and just smash your head against the keyboard for God knows how many times of fury or whatever reason you may find fit to discuss. And there's, to be honest with you, a middle ground where I sit, because I don't exactly hate the vehicle, but then again, I absolutely love it when I can shoot at it with a high explosive shell. I am of course talking about the Waffenträger of E100, because in this patch, it is being replaced by this. This is the Grill 15. She is the Tier 10 glass cannon replacement for the Waffenträger of E100. Now, I'm not entirely, you know, I will say, for a replacement of this thing, when I first heard that they were going to be replacing the Waffenträger of E100, I kind of wondered if they were going to do the same thing that they did to the KV-1S down in Russia with the KV-85 and KV-1S Tier 5s. I can report that it is actually not such a case. It's not basically nerfed to buggery, but it's certainly not as capable as the Waffenträger once was. It's a lovely middle ground. Let's have a look at the stats, shall we? Boom. So, this is the gun that you're going to be working with. It's not an autoloader. And, they changed it the last time I looked. Fucking thought as much. I did attempt to record a video earlier this week when I finally had the chance to, but I just didn't have the time. So, the gun that you're going to be working with is 150mm. It has a 3.64 rounds a minute, which in total is a 14.2 second reload. This is, of course, with it's technically 4.21 rounds. You know what? Screw it. That's now a lie. So now I get a 4.21 rounds a minute with a 14.2 reload with a rammer and 100% crew. I imagine that will probably be going down to maybe 13.8 or something like that with the Brothers in Arms. She is, of course, open-topped. Her hit points, actually no, her damage, sorry, let's keep on the gun, is a 750 roll. Her penetration is 279, and her accuracy is 0.27. Now, count your lucky stars for anyone who previously feared this thing would be overpowered, because she did actually at one point have a 0.25 accuracy. If I get the chance, I'll try and find the video for it just to sort of show that this actually did happen. But yeah, this thing, it still is a very good 2.7 accuracy and a 1.5 second aiming time. Now, this you might consider is overpowered, and if she was a fully traversable turret, then yeah, but she isn't. She has 50 degrees both left and right. Her gun depression is not too bad, being at -8 to 14 elevation, so I suppose kind of like the Waffenträger. But she can no longer perform those sort of cheeky side angle shots where she only sticks out her turret, massive as it was, and basically clips you. So this thing now has definitely been a replacement thing. But for those of you worried that this thing has basically been nerfed into buggery, then fear not, because although she's lost her mighty auto-loading punch, she's actually gained a fair amount of a benefit in another direction. She's actually a lot lighter. Obviously not on a Waffenträger chassis. She's probably, I think, on a Panther chassis, which means that she has a very good horsepower ratio of 22.19, and she can go 60 kilometers. Obviously, depending on what kind of consumable you take with you. I probably will change this at whatever. Her traverse speed is surprisingly low, being only at 25, but, clutch braking and engine sorting will probably help you out in that. Now, I haven't had many games in this vehicle, so I can't honestly say whether or not this thing, the traverse speed, is bad. I'll have to play it in the second episode for you to find out, but 25 kilometers, 25 traverse speed is nothing to be ashamed of. It would be nicer if it was closer to 30, but, you know, not the end of the world. Its concealment, however, is probably not so good, being only at 134 or 8.76 when motionless and 5.27 when moving. So, so I imagine there are probably a just cause reasons to maybe train your crew in camouflage, as well as maybe purchase an equipment slot to either take the place of maybe certain gun features. I mean, I don't think I need an enhanced gun laying drive with this gun. This was my old stupid... This is my old sort of go-to setup, if you will. But I probably instead would either choose a camouflage net if I really wanted to hide, or maybe a medium spore liner because I don't want to get shot. Or at least one-shotted. So that's another cool thing. Going for its hit points and armor, I kind of missed that. You only have 1800. Now, armor-wise, don't even think about armor, because this thing is open-topped. It's literally crap. it's crap. You've got 30 on the front, 16 to the sides, 20 to the rear. Though, to be honest with you, given the size of this vehicle, I'm going to get a Jagdtiger for balance. You're tall. You're very tall. So you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Obviously, the benefit of this particular design is that it's slightly more slim than a Jägeru. Sorry, Jägeru? Very much slimmer than a Jägeru, but also slimmer than a Waffenträger E100. So you might get away with a couple more cheeky shots that maybe the Waffenträger may not have been able to be so lucky with. Its spotting range, though, is kind of... You see, this is the disappointing thing. I would say that should be at least 400. Because my Jagdpanzer is admittedly got its own sort of decent crew. And maybe once my crew becomes better at range or whatever, but, you know, open-topped vehicles should get, I mean, 370 for this. Or, like, you know, it's an open-topped vehicle at tier 10. It should get a 400-meter view range, you know. Most other vehicles have a, you know, a 400-meter view range. Let me have a good example. I'm going to go with Leopard 1. I think that has a 400-meter view range. 419, apparently. That's because I own it. Never mind. Okay, what about the Pattern? Does that get a 400-meter view range? 420. I'm not entirely sure if these stats work. I'm going to go with that. Yeah, 420. You know, a medium tank can outspot a tank destroyer. That thing has armor. The Grill does not. I'm going to go with another one. Japan. We'll go Japan. STB-1, tier 10 medium tank. I'm going with mediums at the moment, but we'll go to the heavies in a second. 410. You know, okay, type 5 heavy. What does he have? 400 view range. What about the E100? If I can get the damn thing. Where is my E100? Where are you, E1? There you are, you little BD. This thing has a 400 view range. This thing outspots a freaking Grill tank destroyer. It's got a similar gun, but it's crap. You know, I realize Wargaming is in a bit of a perilous spot with everyone moaning about tank destroyers getting, you know, being effective at being tank destroyers. But at tier 10, you shouldn't... I mean, it's open-topped as well. If it was closed, then maybe that would be okay. But it's open-topped. It's an open-topped tier 10 tank destroyer. For God's sakes, give it the same bloody field of view range that every other vehicle, even that has closed tops, has. You know? It's a little bit kicking in the teeth. But anyway, Wargaming, I'm sure you'll have your reasons behind that. Apart from, obviously, apart from the extended crew as well, which is actually, if you will, kind of handy because it means you get an extra buff to your crew levels, like, you know, extra camo or something like that. All in all, I would say that, on face value, this new vehicle is definitely a replacement. It's a reaction, or at least a countermeasure to the Waffenträger E100. Everything that the Waffenträger E100 was excelling at, this thing can't do. But then this thing will probably counteract what the Waffenträger couldn't do, and maybe turn itself into a unique playstyle for someone who's willing to go up to the tier 10s. I myself will probably have this thing to look forward to, other than the Waffenträger, because I'm never going to reach the Waffenträger. You know, I have seen it dawn and I have seen it dusk, and I will never be able to see it or play it. But I don't mind, because, in all honesty, glass cannons aren't exactly my favorite strategy. So, we've talked about the new UI changes, we've talked about the replacement for the Waffenträger, but apart from that, there isn't really a large amount of obvious feature changes that are being available, at least in this episode, for World of Tanks. Now, if you want to have an inny-winny, gritty, detailed look into the game's sort of the patch notes, I have provided links down below, because there are a lot of them. And one of the particular, and I'll be sort of quoting a couple of links, or a couple of the things from these, which may or may not interest you. They're actually changing the stats of a number of vehicles. The famous T-22, which I believe you could get off the random Rampage event, which will be gone now. I think it is already gone. Is nerfed quite severely. A number of vehicles are actually being buffed. A couple of premium vehicles as well are being buffed. Once again, I won't go into specifics because it'll bore you to tears. A number of vehicles is also, a large number of vehicles are also being given the HDified look, which is nice. Once again, bore you to tears if I try and do it. And, generally speaking, a lot of things are going to be on the sort of look on the patch notes to notice the difference sort of thing. So, what I will state, though, is two of the obvious changes, which, well, we'll be seeing a lot more of when we go into the next episode, of which the first is the physics. So, Wargaming have made, when they released the physics, they made a couple of bodges. Well, admittedly, this was the first time they ever released it. I mean, it was a very long time that they promised these things, and then when they finally come into it, you can hardly expect them to come in perfect and completely does not need to be modified in any sort of way. I mean, all in all, I would say the physics have been doing very well. Success-wise. Excuse me. Obviously, it's not been perfect. There have been a lot of matches where it's been lost because someone has flipped their tank sideways, or you clip into a building and then your tank gets stuck onto it like a leech to a tourist in South America. So there are a few elements of the physics which have previously trolled a lot of players that they're going to be tweaking and fixing in this patch. So no longer will you potentially roll your tank over the next time you jump over a sand dune. They've also changed the sounds of the guns. Not like the guns firing sounds, but the impact sounds, to make it sound a little bit more meaty, maybe not so deafening. Either way, it depends on how they're going to go. As I said, you'll see more of this in the second episode. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about is platoons. Now, this particular change, I think, is going to be, in my own personal opinion, the best change of the entire patch. I mean, the UI is great, the grill is okay, the amendments to the physics is nice, but there is nothing that will sing to me more, or like so much cheer. When I saw it, I cheered, and I'll still cheer when I talk about it, because it is the most awesome thing, and please, Wargaming, do not remove from this patch. Do not take away from us this. I am, of course, talking about the rule change to platoons. Now, the general premise of this is that in order to stop the failed platoons from coming into your game and ruining the experience of both you and your enemies and your friends alike, the Wargaming are going to be implementing a penalty system for anyone who does a failed platoon. Okay, so here's how it works. So, if you are in a platoon with friends who are all in the same tier vehicle, so if you're in, for example, I'm in a, let's say I'm grinding my, my Centurion Mark 7-1. So I'm grinding my Centurion Mark 7-1, and Bidden War is in his T10 or in a Tier 9 artillery, because he's an asshole when he's in artillery. And Nimbus is jumping into his Tier 9, assorted vehicle. Either it's going to be a T-5041, an M53-55, or he's jumped into a Russian light tank bin. It doesn't matter, as long as they're all the same Tier 9 vehicle. we will get a bonus to our experience at the end of the game because we're all in the same tier vehicle. Obviously, before the patch goes live, they're probably going to adjust and balance it so no one can abuse it, but it's still going to be a bonus to whatever else we do. So if maybe the game doesn't go well for us, at least we get a slight bonus because we did, we were in the same platoon. However, if, for example, I'm in my tier 9 vehicle, but Bidden decides to go into a tier 10 vehicle, or Nimbus decides to go into a tier 8 vehicle, for whatever reason he's in an artillery as well, then no bonus experience is given, but it's not going to, it's basically a normal platoon of World of Tanks. However, if you go below 3 tiers, or 3 tiers below, so for example, I'm in a Centurion Mark 7-1, Bidden chooses a tier 9, and then Nimbus decides to have a laughy moment and takes an ELC into the match, or Bidden decides to take a tier 5 into a tier 10 game in a platoon, or if someone takes, for example, the famous twat Scout goes into a high tier match and brings a medium or heavy tank from a lower tier along, then, you end up having, they will end up having a penalty to their experience. What it probably means is that they won't receive as much as perhaps they would if they were in a either not so fail platoony stance, or and definitely won't receive the bonus. So what this basically hopefully will mean is that people will be discouraged from utilizing failed platoons. For example, some people are bored of being at tier 6, so they'll say, yo, load up your Stug, I'm going to take you into a tier 8 game, your gun can still penetrate shit from that, and you'll get a load of experience from it. Instead, it'll be, I can't really go tier 9, mate, because I'm going to lose experience on that. And I think that's a fantastic thing, and I, honest to God, hope that Wargaming keeps this in. I mean, sure, I probably won't benefit too much, well, none of us, we won't benefit too much from the bonus, but I want that in because it discourages people from doing that horrible move which is fail platoon. I get so fed up when I see that, because not only does it deny you a fair chance in the game because you're working with a vehicle that is clearly is clearly inferior to a majority of the vehicles you're facing, but also it denies the enemy some decent experience again, because if they shoot a tier 5 they're only going to get a tiny amount. Whereas if they shoot an equal or higher tier, that's when you start making the credits and money. It'd be like firing a BL-10 shot into the side of a 1 hit point vehicle. You get cheated. So for anyone who thinks fail platooning is funny, or thinks, oh, I'm not going to like this patch now because I'm not going to be able to fail platoon, then you can fuck off, because I'm happy that you're going to lose experience because of this. So, middle finger to your direction, fail platooners. Anyway. So, apart from that, there isn't really much else worthy of discussion in this particular video, so I will bid you adieu and until the next video. So, thank you very much for watching this one, guys. If you want to check out the next video, that'll be when I jump into a tank, blow stuff up, and have a good old time doing so. So if you want to see that, by all means, go down to the link below, and you will get straight to it. And obviously, before I go, 2 things. If you want to see any more of the details, because I have kind of skimmed over a few of the details, but there are a lot of things that will be talked about, and are being talked about, in the patch notes, in the description sort of things. There's lots of links there, and they will tell you as much information as you want out of this patch. And hopefully, when I see you in the next video, you'll be able to see a more visual representation of the changes that are being made to the physical engine, as well as some of the sounds of this game. And also another thing to mention, everything you saw in this video potentially could change due to whatever Wargaming decides to do. I'm hoping a lot of it will stay in, but at the same time, Wargaming has done pullouts before. Certain patches that potentially would have introduced one thing, got pulled out, the drill. So, thank you very much for watching this, guys. If you like this kind of content, do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you next time.